New York federal jury has found Donald Trump liable for sexual abuse and defamation in the E. Jean Carroll case.
To begin with this, first, a historic verdict in a civil lawsuit against former President Donald Trump. Federal jury in New York decided very quickly, actually, that he is liable for sexually abusing and defaming writer E. Jean Carroll. Carroll had accused Trump of raping her and said he defamed her when he called her account a hoax and says, in his words, she's not my type. The jury did not find...
That was the dumbest defense for so many different reasons. Number one, does that imply that you are a rapist if someone is your type? Okay? Number two, if you say she's not my type, like, you know, try to at least make it seem like she's not your type. If that's your stellar defense here, don't get caught with your fucking pants down, pointing to a photo of her and calling her your ex-wife, which is what Trump did. I mean, when someone says, oh, that person is not my type, that's going to be hard to prove in a court of law, right? Obviously, it doesn't have to be beyond a reasonable doubt because this is a civil case. But like even then, that's still kind of hard to prove. You know what I mean? You can just keep your fucking mouth shut. You can be silent. You can point to girls that you think look nothing like her to be like, that's my type, actually. But what did Donald Trump do? Donald Trump literally turned around, looked at a photo in a deposition they were doing, and pointed to his wife. Sorry, not his wife. Pointed to E. Jean Carroll and said, that's my ex-wife, Marla. Well, there you go. You know, good job. You did that. You fucked up. He's so fucking stupid, dude.
Trump liable for rape, but did order him to pay Carroll $5 million in damages.
Someone's knocking on the
Elaine
door.
Quijano covered the trial for us and is in the studio this morning. Elaine, good morning to you.
Good morning, Gail. After the verdict was read, Trump wrote on his social media platform, Truth Social, I have absolutely no idea who this woman is. This verdict is a disgrace, he wrote, a continuation of the greatest witch hunt of all time. The former president's lawyers say they will appeal the case.
E. Jean Carroll smiled as she walked out of New York City federal court Tuesday. It took the jury less than 3 hours to find former President Donald Trump liable for sexually abusing and defaming her, but they were not convinced he raped her. Carroll accused Trump of attacking her in a New York City department store in the 1990s. During her testimony, Carroll said Trump put his shoulder against her and held her against the wall of a dressing room. Trump denied the claims and said Carroll wasn't his type. While he didn't testify in court, jurors did hear some of his deposition. At one point, Trump pointed to a picture of Carroll standing to his left and said it was his second wife, Marla Maples.
That's Marla, yeah. That's my wife.
Which woman are you pointing to? No.
Here.
Carroll.
Dumbass.
Oh,
The person you just pointed to was E. Jean Carroll.
Carroll's attorneys also called 2 witnesses who alleged they were grabbed by Trump in
Good
separate
job.
incidents.
You did it.
What the other people testified to was a grabbing of the genital area.
Are you familiar, I'm sure you are, with something that's often referred to as the Access Hollywood tape?
Yes, I am.
During the deposition, Trump was asked about the 2005 Access Hollywood tape, where he talked about grabbing women by their genitalia.
You can do anything, grab them by the you can do anything. That's what you said, correct?
Well, historically, that's true with stars. If you look over the last million years, I guess that's been largely true. Not always, but largely true. Unfortunately or fortunately.
And you consider yourself to be a star?
I think you can say that, yeah.
This verdict is the first time that a former president of the United States has actually been found liable for sexual abuse.
After Tuesday's verdict, Carroll issued a statement saying, I filed this lawsuit against Donald Trump to clear my name and to get my life back. Today, the world finally knows the truth. This victory is not just for me, but for every woman who has suffered because she was not believed. Tony.
It's a win for E. Jean Carroll, another first for Donald Trump. Elaine, thank you very much. Quote, the world finally knows the truth. That statement coming from writer E. Jean Carroll after she won her civil lawsuit against Donald Trump. A federal jury in Manhattan found that Trump sexually abused Carroll in a department store dressing room in the 90s and then defamed her by denying her claim. Trump has been ordered to pay Carroll $5 million, the former president reacting to the ruling.
It's crazy
on his social.
That Trump this happened to Trump before it happened to fucking Bill Clinton. I had to change my pants. It's like cold in here now because the fucking aircon is out, and I'm making another fucking cuppa. That's right. I'm making another cup of coffee, lads. A cup of fucking Joe in it. Yeah. Sorry. Fucking hell. Trump is fucking gone.
Platform. Listen to this.
What else can you expect from a Trump-hating, Clinton-appointed judge who went out of his way to make sure that the result of this trial was as negative as it could possibly be, speaking to and in control of a jury from an anti-Trump area, which is probably the worst place in the United States for me to get a fair trial? We'll be appealing this decision. It's a disgrace.
We should note it was an anonymous jury. Joining us now is E. Jean Carroll and her attorney, Roberta Kaplan. Welcome to CNN this morning. We're glad you're here.
Well, thank you for having us.
We'll all remember that you said, E. Jean, I'm trying to get my life back.
Yes.
I'm here to try to get my life back.
That was why yesterday I was such a happy woman. I felt like we had accomplished that.
I'm not gonna lie. 5 million is pretty solid. You know what I mean? Especially with Donald Trump and how many women haven't gotten shit. You know what I mean? 5 million, milk them. Milk them dry, ladies. Get everything you can out of them.
You did.
Yeah.
Talk about what you were thinking as...
Does he even have 5 mil? Yeah. Good question. I don't know. I don't know what Donald Trump's finances look like. It can't be good. He's got to be selling so much more NFTs. So many more NFTs for that one.
The jury's decisions were read off in your mind.
We were sitting there like this. Robbie's hand, it was like holding a block of ice. And we didn't have any idea what the jury was going to do. The former president is incorrect. The jury was not from Manhattan. Where was it from, Robbie?
Mostly Westchester and North.
Yeah. And 6 men, 3 women. His kind of jury, actually. And so when the verdict came in, she squeezed my hand so hard.
Let's get back to E. Jean Carroll.
I almost yelped, but it was a great moment.
What about when that first finding was found? This jury found that Trump did not rape you. What about that moment?
Robbie can explain the legal.
Sure, and I want you to, but I just wonder, E. Jean, what went through your head when you heard that?
Well, I just immediately say in my own head, oh, yes, he did. Oh, yes, he did. See, that's my response.
So look, New York law on sexual crimes like this is complicated, and it's not probably appropriate for morning viewers. But the truth of the matter is that sexual abuse, which he was found guilty of, is a very, very serious offense. I'm not going to get into the body part situation with you, but people go to jail for sexual abuse. It's a very serious offense. And most importantly, E. Jean brought this case because she wanted her name back. As you said at the very beginning, she got her name back, and the jury found that he lied. And he lied about her maliciously.
I don't think anybody was surprised by some of the stuff we heard from the former president last night. Obviously, you addressed him talking about the jury. Another thing that he and his lawyers have often spoken about is the lack of disclosure about a big Democratic donor funding part of this case. Was there a reason it wasn't disclosed, and did you view this as political in any way?
No. I just completely forgot
Hillary?
that he even existed.
In your deposition?
She almost said Hillary.
Deposition.
Get him.
Because Trump lawyers have called that, Roberta, a sign of bias. It raises questions about the motives of bringing this case, and I wonder what the reaction is.
So every single witness, every one of those 11 witnesses who testified in this case, testified under oath and told the truth, not because they don't like Trump, but because it was the truth. That's what this case was about. who was telling the truth. The jury decided that E. Jean was telling the truth. And there may be witnesses who don't like Trump. There may have been jurors, as Joe Tacopina said in his opening, who don't like Trump. But that process was about the truth under the law, and that's what the jury found.
I don't want to make this a political conversation, but the kind of dissonance between the moment yesterday on the front pages of all the newspapers,
All of them.
Getting your life back, something you've been thinking about and going through for decades, and then at the same time looking over and seeing that that man is also the front runner for the Republican nomination for president, and you listen to Republicans who were asked about this yesterday, and it's some version of what we heard for 6 years prior. Don't want to talk about it, dodge, say there's something corrupt about the process. Well, how do you kind of reconcile that moment, I guess?
Here's how I reckon it. Yesterday, the old view of what the perfect victim looks like totally changed.
What do you mean?
The old view of the perfect victim was a woman who always screamed, a woman who immediately reported, a woman whose life was supposed to fold up, and she's never supposed to experience happiness again. That was just shut down.
All right, let's keep going.
With this verdict. The death of the perfect victim has happened. Now, this verdict is for all women. This is not really about me. It's for every single woman.
There, in the courtroom, was an encounter, an exchange between you and the president's lawyer, Joe Tacopina. Mm-hmm. He came up, you shook hands, I believe. What did he say?
Well, Joe Tacopina is very likable. He's sort of like an 18th century strutting peacock. And people like him. So when he sticks out his hand to first he congratulated Rob.
First of all, she's right. Joey Tacopina, hey, how you doing, E.G.? How you doing? Fuck you. Hey, he should have done one of these. He should have been like, hey, how you doing? Fuck you. Hey, I'm Joey Tacopina. How you fucking doing? I'm the greatest Italian lawyer in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. Fuck it, Delaware over here. You know what I'm saying? Hey. Joey Tacopina hasn't won a case in his life.
Robbie, and then he was congratulating people on the team. And as I put my hand forward, I said, he did it, and you know it. And then we shook hands, and I passed on.
Did he say anything in response?
No, he's a hail fellow well met. He went on shaking hands and smiling.
The response you got afterwards, you making the point, this is for all women. I think that there were a significant number of women who were certainly behind you in the case.
They're trying so hard. CNN is trying so hard to just cut 10 minutes out of this. It is honestly admirable watching them just oh yeah, this verdict is not just for you, but for all women. It's like they're so, God, I love liberal television sometimes. This is one of my favorite types of liberal TV. Just gloat, man. Let her fucking pop off. You should pop off too. We all know what the real reason for your interest in this particular matter is. It's not oh my God, justice has been served here, ma'am. I don't think anybody gives a shit about that that much. This is yet again one of those circumstances where Donald Trump is getting his comeuppance, but in a lighter offense. You know what I mean? If I'm not mistaken on the details, he her original. Okay, I have to sit up for this. Her original assessment of the situation is or what she said was that he was trying to cop a feel, right? Which is depending on which jurisdiction you're in, it's sexual assault or battery or sexual abuse, right?
In the case, in the hours since, I don't think you've had a lot of time to check your phone or calls or emails. What's the response been, given what you were laying out in terms of the perfect victim being shattered?
There are no words. There are no words. I just now saw the headlines. I'm really sort of taking in the moment and the overwhelming flood of a lot of hate. That's part of it.
Donald Trump, ein Sexmonster.
Relief and joy and and feeling of at last, and the surge of, there's a sort of a feeling of victory that at last somebody has held him accountable in a courtroom, thanks to Robbie Kaplan. So it's such a mash of overwhelming emotions. It's hard to put into words.
What about appeals? We heard the president say they'll appeal. Our Paula Reed, with her brilliant legal analysis on the program earlier, talked about that. This is a tough appeal to make. And what would the grounds be when the Trump team didn't present a defense and he didn't step foot in that courtroom?
Yeah. So
your perspective?
You heard Donald Trump on the tape say that the judge here, Judge Kaplan, no relation to me, went out of his way to be unfair. Actually, the opposite is true. Judge Kaplan in this case went out of his way to be fair to Donald Trump. He gave him multiple opportunities to show up in that courtroom and testify, and Donald Trump decided not to. There are no issues in this case on appeal. They'll make them, but there are no serious issues on this appeal.
How are you going to appeal? Right. How are you going to appeal when you didn't show up and offer like any sort of counter testimony? That's a wild, I don't know. He's just claiming.
If Trump had come first, do you wish he had come?
Yeah, I do.
And what would you have said to him?
I would have loved to have seen Robbie put him on the stand. Loved it. I just would have loved it. If you've seen any portions of the deposition, that was Robbie doing the question.
We have.
It would have been a glorious moment. However, I think he was frightened. I think he was frightened of her.
What's next? This has to be an all-consuming.
I'm going to go get a dog for my dog because so he needs somebody to play with. So I'm going to get a dog. I'm going to go to the pound, get a nice dog for my dog.
$5 million. Are you going to see it?
Oh, you know what? I was even unaware of how much it was. Robbie had to tell me, this is not about the money. Not about the money. This is accomplishing something that I set out to do many years ago, is to get my name back. And that's what we did.
But you will see it. I promise you,
I'm going to ask you next.
Ask the lawyer.
I promise you that Eugene will see each and every penny of that $5 million.
Can I end on something that I think is really important in all of this? And it's the fact that New York passed this law.
Yeah.
The Adult Survivors Act. They passed it just a few years ago. Were it not for that law, you never would have been able to bring this case. And I just think it speaks to the importance for a lot of other survivors.
Exactly. I would never have this window, this year of having the ability to bring a lawsuit for rape. Robbie can explain it better.
Well, Eugene actually helped to get that law passed. It passed last year. We filed, it was Thanksgiving Day, was the first day you could sue. We filed just after midnight on Thanksgiving. And there are a lot of other women throughout this state and hopefully throughout this country that they will get other laws like this passed in other states. And New York women should use this law while it's still around, which is until next Thanksgiving.
Yeah, because there's a reason women stay silent. They're ashamed and they're frightened and they're worried about their kids. This law gives us that 1 year window. It's a brilliant law.
Eugene, Carroll, Roberta Kaplan, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Very unfair law.